Hi, Jermaine. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Talk to me a little bit about, obviously you have personal experience, but also what other input did you have in having this series created so that it is, full and tells a complete story?
Um, I just introduced it. I think I was you know, the the arrow to every part of things that needed to be talked about. The celebrity part, the club in itself, magic, the dancer. I mean, just every part of it. I was heavy about making sure that we showed this to the people.
Talk about the music aspect of it because, when we talk about this generation doesn't quite understand, in even as we have just seen with this clips rolled out, that, the importance that strip clubs played in breaking records, right? Because there's like the business side of it, how record companies approach it, and then there's like just organically people feeling something and being like, hey, I like the song. There's not necessarily a rhyme or reason. I just like the beat. I like how it vibes. And then the girls are like, I can dance to it. Talk about that aspect of it and just changing how we break records, especially in the South.
Well, I mean, I think that it's a home for music, like it's a club. So first off, if you start thinking about these clubs don't move unless there's music going on, all of them. So it's so many strip clubs in Atlanta. You got to look at it and be like, okay, well, this could be a perfect promotion for me. And then you got to figure out how to break into the night, right? So the easiest way is to find a dancer that you like. When she goes on the stage, you pay her whatever you was gonna pay for some dances. You could pay her $50 to $100, whatever it is that you feel like paying her, and say, "Hey, if I give you $50, would you go to the DJ and tell him you want to dance off of this song?" Right? And you hand her the song. Back in the day, it was a CD. Um, and she'll go take it to the DJ booth, and she'll ask the DJ to play it as far as part of one of her song sets. And at that point, that's the biggest promotion you could possibly get if in that club, because the girl is on the stage, all eyes are on her, and all ears are on whatever they hear her dancing to.
Also talk about, how important the South was to changing that aesthetic in terms of like beauty and just body acceptance, what would you say to that extent? Because that it was during an era where it was like hair and chic and models were super, super skinny and almost very, straight top to bottom.
Are you saying as far as the voluptuous of the
Yes,
women?
exactly. Girls
Yeah, I
or
mean, I
boys.
think I think it made people in general respect um fuller body black women. 100%. And I feel like, these bodies that these girls are going to Colombia to get, they want to be bodied. They want the body of a black woman that 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 they probably have seen portrayed in strip clubs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate
Uh,
you. And it's
Thank you.
been a pleasure.
All right.
Now.
Hi, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Let's talk a little bit how to approach this because I mean, just coming from obviously journalism background and just as a woman, I'm always like, all right, how much of this is going to be the men making
Mhm.
it seem like it's everything and such a good time? And how much of this are the women going to have an opportunity to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly? Because it does often get portrayed. I feel like in this quote unquote stripper culture, they're the ones who get judged the harshest, right? And
Mhm.
people not realizing, but the men control everything. And the women may be the attraction, but the men control everything. And if it wasn't for the women, the men wouldn't be flourishing because they literally
Mhm.
have to kick back to the DJ, security, bartender, you name it. It's like cash, 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 cash. And what is going on with the women. So talk about that aspect as a director being like, I want to make sure that they their piece and their part gets told uncensored.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. I mean, literally everything you described with it just being a bunch of men being like, yo, this club is the best. Like that's my worst nightmare. Like that would literally keep me up at night. Throughout this entire process, the very first thing that I wanted to do was to center the story around the lives, the livelihood of the women past and present who have come from that club. And it's 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 a delicate balance, but it begins with listening first and foremost. I think a lot of times directors have a tendency to want to like put their spin on a story or put their presence on a story, but in my opinion, true documentary filmmaking is taking a back seat and creating an environment where everyone, especially the women in this project, feel comfortable, feel respected, feel trusted to tell their story their way. So a lot of times on set and even in the pre-interviews, before we would even step down to talk, it would just be a private conversation between me and them being like, how are you feeling? What do you want to talk about? What is out of your boundaries? Like trying to understand their space and their story. So by the time we actually were rolling on camera, there was a relationship there. And when you have a trusted relationship, that's how you develop the honesty and the respect to give a story that has integrity. And so what we did, I know this is long-winded, but it's important to me. What we did was we told stories past and present of dancers from the 80s all the way to present day. And then even went beyond that and looked at Gail Barney, who is Mr. Magic's ex-wife, to find a whole different perspective that is like, hey, even within the confines of this ecosystem, there are other female perspectives that deserve to be told as well. And imagine being the wife of someone who's running a strip club. That is a whole situation in of itself. Yeah.
I thought to me, she was one of my favorite moments
Mhm.
because I feel like he wouldn't be have been able to do and even return to the club. I'm like, talk about that because I don't think they give her like first of all, she held this family down when he was incarcerated.
Yeah.
Then also she held the storefront down. Let's be keep it 1,000. She raised those
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit like, when is he going to give her credit for her part?
Hmm.
Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Not to say that you want to lean him in there, but I did think like, wow, that's the part of the story we never hear,
Hmm.
her part. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Gail is fantastic. I mean, I love everyone, but I love Gail. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
put
she's
that
a
out there.
boss. She's a
Yeah,
real
yeah.
boss.
She's a mom. Like that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I think what's interesting about this series, obviously it's 5 parts, is you were tracking like the rise, fall, and rise, quote unquote, of the club, but then you're also simultaneously the tracking the navigation of a relationship that began as high school sweethearts, moved to Atlanta with this idea of, the white picket fence, et cetera, et cetera. You have your 2 boys, you're raising a family, and then you're thrown into this tornado that is ambition, aspiration, trying to make something of yourself within the confines of the adult entertainment industry. And then you start to see the ripple effects of, well, what does that have? What effect does that have on the people that you hold nearest and dearest, the family? And then how does that sort of resolve itself in the present day where it's like, okay, well, now my 2 boys work at the club, and you know what I mean? And like my favorite thing is like, I can't remember if this made it into the doc or not, but it's like, maybe it is in the end, is, Gail says something like, like, I blame the club for everything. If the sun doesn't come out and it rains, that's the club's fault. Like I just like, cause she's so real about it. And it's what I love as a documentary filmmaker, is you try to be objective about everything and just present the story for the audience to make sense of themselves. But Gail is so honest, and I respect and admire her honesty about a roller coaster of a life that she and Mr. Magic have lived.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. And like I said, this definitely going to be a conversation starter.
Hmm.
We're going to
Hmm.
be talking about it for a minute. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You have a nice day.
Hi, Cole. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to speak with you. I'm from Philly, so this is a special one.
Absolutely. Go Birds.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how do you make a series like this and make it bring in a next generation, right? Obviously, there is the mystique portion of the strip club and the salacious portion, but how do you get this generation to engage and understand that there are real people behind it and it wasn't all glitz and glamour and fun?
Yeah, I think that really came down to like our initial approach to how we wanted to tell this story. So, like you said, there's so much allure and tantalizing tidbits that will probably bring people to this. But then all along the way, we're trying to subvert those expectations by also telling, the history of Atlanta and the creation of black wealth in this city. So, we talk about Maynard Jackson, the first major black mayor in the city. Um, we talk about the Mr. Magic himself and how he created a business and an empire. So I think that we use those both visually and from a storytelling perspective. We use those moments of intrigue to bring an audience in. But hopefully, by the time that audience leaves, what they're leaving with is a much fuller understanding of this city, this incredible family, and how this club has shaped the culture writ large.
I think one of the compelling parts of this is the price that the family paid. Like the family was fractured,
Yeah.
and I think, there's some other parts
Oh.
of it. How important was that to tell? Because again, I'm like, the question, yes, you own this iconic club, but you lost your family, you lost your wife, and as you get older, you ask yourself, what portion of that is there? There were certain pauses from Mr. Magic, but I'm also like, I wanted to be like, like, I felt like it was missing a little
Yeah.
bit, him giving his wife credit, for
Yeah,
her
I
best overall. I mean, I'm not saying your part, but I was like, man, like this woman really like I think what she said was valid, but she could have been like, she could have went in, but she didn't. I think she kept it very cute and respectful. And on his part, because the boys are working with him, and I'm just like, a little bit heartbroken. So how do you navigate that, where you're not like, sir, elaborate,
Yeah,
but
I think
keep
that,
it organic?
it was really important us to bring Gail Barney's voice into this storytelling because exactly what you said, like when in any empire that gets built, in any business that gets built, oftentimes the family gets lost in the creation of this thing that becomes really important. I will say Mr. Magic is a family man and everybody talks about him that way, but Gail Barney herself added so much depth and richness to the storytelling of this. Every time I've talked to Mr. Magic, he identifies how she was there in the creation myth of this place, Magic City. So it's really exactly what I was saying earlier about like trying to go beyond the surface level. This is at the end of the day a story about a man building an empire and the family that came together to do so. And I think we needed to get every perspective, including Gail's, and she added a lot.
The other part, I also was like, pay attention, ladies. The
Yeah.
the beauty as far as the looks and the aesthetic of the
Yep.
women was that had women with natural bodies, and it wasn't this BBL culture and you've got to get
Yeah.
all this stuff done. How important is that? Because I think a lot of people think like stripper culture is, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think it actually ended up in the series now that I think about it. But at one point we had like a really big discussion of the BBL and how the BBL has like penetrated both this club but also like hip hop culture. Um, and there is a really like these are sticky issues. There's an interesting element to this entire story that is these women who are so independent and so clearly self-sufficient and empowered, but also, being viewed and being frankly objectified in this space. And what does it mean to both inhabit and hold agency, but also clearly be the object of someone's desire? How are you subverting that? How are you perhaps using that to your own ends? When do you become a victim of that? That's a discussion that we're having across the series. And I think that the BBL question is the perfect embodiment of that because the women that you see in this club are in some ways subject to like trends. Like when you're being viewed, you have to like keep up with the times in a way that feels very different when you're talking about like alterations to your body. So I think that it's we get into it a little bit. We weren't able to keep the big discussion of it, but that question of agency and how you're being viewed and whether you're a victim or at times, taking advantage of people that are the customers, like all of that is something that is swirling around this entire series, all 5 episodes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you.
Thanks, thanks, Katya. Have a great day today.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hello, wonderful. How are you?
Excellent. Kathy Woods with the Philadelphia Tribune. Super excited to be speaking with you today about this series. Talk to me a little bit what interested you in wanting to bring this story to light, because it's a little bit of a lot of it is hush hush and it's like, cult. It's like we're of the same generation, so I can say this. It's like back in the day when we used to go to a club, but other than like some film and some still pictures, people really didn't know unless you were there. So what made you say, okay, I kind of want to be a part of bringing this story to fruition?
Well, I think the biggest reason is I am friends with the Barney family who have owned and operated Magic City for 4 decades now. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. We're the majority owners of the NBA team, the Atlanta Hawks. And the very first people when we arrived in Atlanta, knowing no one, I had never been to Atlanta, the very first people to extend themselves to me with open arms were Juju and Little Madge, and then eventually Mr. Magic were really the first people to say, hey, welcome. If you need anything, let us know. So there was a friendship first. And then my son's college friend, Cole Brown, was writing the memoirs of Jermaine Dupri, and there was a chapter on Magic City. And he called up his friend Nick, my son, who was living in Atlanta, and said, Nick, I'm doing this book. There's this amazing chapter about this place called Magic City. Have you ever heard of it? And Nick's like, heard of it? Juju, Little Madge, Mr. Magic come to the club all the time. The dancers, I've been to the club, absolutely. And he said, can you introduce me? And so Nicholas introduced him, and then Mr. Magic kind of, wanted the story to be told with me on board as well. So I got on board to finance and help produce.
Outstanding. One thing I thought was really important, just as women, that we allow the women to tell their part of it. As much as people are like, oh, it's so women liberating and they get to earn money and they get to have this, it's still a very male dominated medium. How important was it for you as a producer and just as a woman to say, hey, we need to make sure that we allow the ladies to tell their perspective, the pros and cons and everything in between. So it doesn't make it seem like it's too often that, oh, this is so glamorous and we're making so much money and life is fantastic. And without realizing that's incredibly hard work and it can be incredibly taxing on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did not, that was first and foremost the family, and then the dancers, and then the music and DJs. And then the food. But the dancers were and are an integral part of Magic City. There's no Magic City without these extraordinary women doing the work that they do. I was just stunned at the athleticism. I mean, most current day dancers and even past, so we go throughout the 40 years of people who have danced for the club and people who are currently dancing. The athleticism, most were cheerleaders or ran track or were gymnasts or in band or danced. So I think for me, someone coming in not knowing much about this space, I was amazed at how strong these women were, how vibrant they were. Yes, this was a rougher road to get there, but then there were Spelman girls who were dancing to make extra money while going to Spelman. So it's such, I think it will give the audience such a different perspective of dancers. And yes, in every industry, in every job, we all come from our past, right? And some pasts are tougher than the others and rougher than the others. But I think what I found so intriguing was the family aspect of it when you dance there. I mean, they really look at it as a family and a family business, and um, everyone being happy and doing well makes it succeed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is a huge honor. I grew up with you from Square Pegs to this, so this is pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.